Hey guys, Jen here. I promised on Monday that I'd jump back here on Friday to talk about this book, which is why I'm back. I have read the intro twice now, and it is still an interesting study, so I have decided that I'm going to do a mini Bible study for the next 3 weeks. The book is split into 3 different parts based on 3 dangerous prayers that we can pray. So tonight I'm just going to go over the intro a little bit with you, talk about what this book is about, give you a chance to get it if you want to. I found it on Amazon. It was, I think, $13 or so. Pretty cheap. It's apparently normally $22 according to the back. Not a bad deal. New York Times bestselling author Craig Groeschel is his name. So the book looks like this. If you would like to pick one up, feel free. I think throughout the week I'll also give you some kind of devotional, maybe some scripture to look at, but we'll get into that in the future. For now, I just want to go over the intro with you. It's called Why Your Prayers Need to Be Dangerous. The author starts off talking about his friend who had asked him, "Craig, do you believe God still does miracles?" Craig says, "Of course." He said, "Good, because your prayers are so lame." He had been working as a youth pastor. He thought of prayer as more of a Shakespearean recitation, like these and thys and thous, and performing your prayer instead of having an intimate relationship with God. And he goes on to say, "No matter how hard I try, I always seem to fall back into the same old prayer rut. I'd pray about the same things in the same ways, usually around the same time. Looking back, I wonder if sometimes God got bored with my prayers. When I'd pray, 'Lord, show us traveling mercies and keep us safe,' I could imagine him saying, 'What are you worried about? Just put on your seatbelt and drive the speed limit, you'll be fine.' Or when I prayed, 'God bless our food,' I just knew he was probably thinking, 'Really? You want me to bless a box of macaroni and cheese and potato chips?' As I studied the Bible more, I marveled at the variety of prayers spoken by God's people. Not only did they pray about things that were incredibly personal, to conceive a child, for instance, in 1 Samuel, but also their prayers were often so practical for food and provision, Matthew 6, and escape from their enemies, Psalms. Sometimes they seemed to gently whisper to a loving God. Other times they yelled at him in agony and frustration. They often pleaded with God sincerely. Then later they'd cry out from the depths of their anguish and rail at God like a tired toddler thrashing in the arms of a parent. They'd pray for boldness to share their faith. They prayed for walls, both internally and externally, to fall. Daniel prayed for months of the hungry lions to be shut, and Jonah prayed for the belly of a hungry whale to be opened. Gideon prayed for his fleece to be wet one day and dry another. God's people prayed whether they were giddy with joy or crushed by sorrow. Their prayers were honest, desperate, fiery, gutsy, real. And there I was, praying God would keep me safe and bless my burger and fries. My friend was right. My prayers were lame. Maybe you could relate. It's not that you don't believe in prayer, you do, but you're stuck in a rut. You pray about the same struggles and the same requests in the same way at the same time, if you even try to pray at all. Like me, you probably know you should pray more and with more passion, more faith. You want to talk to God and listen to him, to share an intimate conversation like you would with your spouse or your best friend. You really want to, but you aren't sure how. So your prayers remain safe, flat, dull, predictable, stale, boring. My friend's wake-up call convinced me it was time for a change in my prayer life. For too long, I had tolerated lackluster, faithless, and mostly empty prayers. I knew God wanted more for me, and I wanted to know him more intimately, despite my hesitation about what it would require of me. I think that's interesting because when we think about prayers, we think about God doing things for us, and we maybe keep our prayers safe because we don't want anything to change for us. We don't want something to be required of us. So do we stay in those safe prayers? God, work in my life, but don't make me do the things that it will require of me to work in my life? I might be guilty of that. He goes on to say that simple is not the same as safe, that many of those prayers in the Bible are simple. God, rain down fire. God, save my people. They're simple prayers, but they're not safe. Those come with dangerous consequences, dangerous action. The next page goes on to talk about a Bible passage that Pastor BZ touched on several weeks ago in Luke 22, verse 42. It's talking about Jesus praying in the Garden of Gethsemane. Jesus, who is a great teacher and a good example of the life that we should be living, is praying in the garden knowing that he's going to die, that he has been called to sacrifice his own life, and says, God, if you can take that away from me, that burden, lift this from me, please do. But that verse says that he prayed a vulnerable and dangerous prayer of submission. Your will be done, not mine. Wow. What a dangerous prayer, especially when you're asking for your own life to be spared. Jesus never asks us to do something he wouldn't do himself. He calls us to a life of faith, not a life of comfort. Instead of coming to him for safer, easier, stress-free lifestyle, the Son of God challenges us to risk loving others more than ourselves. Does that sound like some messages we've heard this week? Instead of indulging our daily desires, he calls us to deny them for something eternal. Instead of living by what we want, he tells us to pick up our crosses daily and follow his example. We're going to dig more deeply into these ideas through 3 powerful prayers drawn from Scripture. These 3 prayers may be short, they may be simple, they may be straightforward, but they are not safe. We'll attempt to stretch our faith, expand our hearts, and open our lives to God, praying these 3 dangerous prayers. Search me, break me, send me. That's going to be interesting. I got to say, at least one of those is terrifying. Search me, break me, send me. It's time to stop praying safe. It's time to start talking, really talking, and listening to God. It's time for dangerous prayers. So like I said, I'm going to go over those 3 dangerous prayers in the next 3 weeks. The first one being search me. That's going to start next Friday. Along with that, I might have some discussion questions for you guys to consider throughout that next week. For now, if you want to pick up that book on Amazon, you can search for Dangerous Prayers by Craig Groeschel. That's how you spell it. For this week, I would like to tell you that I'm going to take it upon myself to send out this little packet of daily devotionals. There is a full page of a devotional on one side and a little activity page on the other. So I thought that would be kind of fun for those of you who might be stuck at home looking for something to do. Here's something that you can focus on this week. Also included in this mailing out is going to be this page. It's just a blank note. You're welcome to color it if you want to. You don't have to. You can just throw all this stuff away if you don't want it. But this is for you to think about someone in your life who maybe doesn't have the internet. If you're watching this right now, it's because you have some connection to some digital device, an access to the internet through your phone or the computer. Some people don't have that. A lot of the older generation doesn't have that. And so if you can think of someone in your life, your friends, your neighbor, that might benefit from getting just a happy note to say, hey, I'm thinking about you. You're not alone out there. Try to rack your brain for someone that might be good for that. And then consider sending them just a little note that I'm gonna include in that mailer. I challenge you to do that this week. Just reach out and love someone. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Tune in on Sunday morning for our message and a little bit of worship, and continue to worship. Find ways to do so throughout the week. I hope that you do. Feel free to give me a call in the office if you need anything. I'm still here. Talk to you guys later. Thanks. Bye-bye.